Evoke, and Amulet. 6-5 in favor of Amulet. If you remove Dom's 4, the matchup has gone 2-5. Dominic Harvey is an absolute master, but this matchup is extremely close, and by the cards themselves, that amount of disruption should be unfavored for Amulet. So this is not easy. Dominic, of course, confident given how it's gone so far and his mastery of the deck, but he does still need things to go his way right now in the most important time, because if he gets through this, he's sailing easy. He's got Tron in the finals.
All right, everybody, I'm excited. It is time for our second semifinal. Christian Calcano needs an opponent, and we're about to give it to him. Riley and Corey, take it away.
Thanks so much, Maria, and welcome back to the tournament floor here at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings. Riley and I joined by Corey Baumeister for the final time today in the booth, but we couldn't be more excited to get things going between our two champions. We've just had the match previewed, Corey. Kind of in a weird spot because we're saying, well, Rakdos Evoke certainly looks good in this matchup, but Dominic Harvey has a thing or two to say about the Rakdos matchup.
Yeah, I think it's in this 80-page document of his on how to beat this, you know, and apparently he knows the secret because, yeah, 4-0, needed all 4 of them to get to the top 8. So going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah, even Dominic's path to the top 8 was not by any means certain. In fact, it looked unlikely heading into the last round of Swiss. There was basically, he had the 1%er out, a draw needed between other people contesting for that top 8 slot.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. We saw Kazuna Kasaka and Alexander Hayne drawing, which got squeaking him into 8th place.
Yeah, exactly, which got Dom exactly that one more place up to be exactly where he is today.
His opponent, Jake Beardsley, playing what we sort of expected to be the deck of the tournament in Rakdos Evoke, and we're seeing exactly why here. Get griefed, Dominic Harvey, as we see grief evoked on turn 1, and then the Undying Malice here, bringing it back straight away. 2 cards out of the hand, a 4-3 Evoke on turn 1. Jake Beardsley, textbook start for his deck.
Yep, absolutely, exactly what you want to do, and this kind of happens against Amulet, especially when you have this many lands. You know, your hand usually doesn't have that many playable things to do, but then the top of your deck has so many Primeval Titans in the sense where you can get Summoner's Pact or Primeval Titan itself.
Ragavan dashed in and heads back up to the hand and attack for 6 on turn 2, exiling Dryad of the Elysian Grove and creating a treasure token here for Jake, who gets in once again with the monkey, pilfering away. This find, how about some treasure off the top? That's the One Ring. 1
land short of casting that. Anytime you can hit anything off Ragavan, it is extremely good. Yeah, I was gonna say, mate, hang on, just calm down 1 second. That costs 4 mana, not 3. Yeah, I'd be like, who has the bounce lands in this deck?
Yeah.
Is it Amulet or so close, so close?
Well, speaking of bouncing, Ragavan heads back to the hand. Urza Saga up to 3, and we see now a newer addition to the Amulet Titan deck.
The Garden.
The Mycosynth Garden, correct. Yep. Also, I will point out, old mate Dominic Harvey, he's on the 61 card special.
It's the correct move, I guess.
Highly scientific. Highly scientific.
All right, so this is a construct here, blow, and then getting blown up by Ragavan. Dom needs something right now, and I don't even know what you can really have against a menace creature besides actually going off. And that would involve not only 1 amulet, but 2, and then some other help as well. So this is going to be pretty tricky. So there is 1 amulet. And I think we have a Summoner's Pact. So that could go get Azusa.
I'm in a situation like this, I'm just never saying, oh, no, that's all right. Okay, we can pack it up. Because while there is an Amulet of Vigor flying around, while there is mana and land drops available to Amulet Titan, it is never out of contention.
Never. Because, well, okay, so Urza Saga can tap here for 1 colorless. That colorless could be funneled into the Gardens. Get Amulet, copy Amulet. Now you have only 1 mana available. And nope, not enough.
Nope. He's run the numbers, he's crunched them up, and Dominic Harvey decides to go to game number 2 here in our second semi-final at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings from Barcelona, Spain. What a pleasure it is to have your company. Riley Knight joined by Corey Baumeister in the booth, and it's a great pleasure to bring you coverage of this huge Magic event from Europe. We're going to kick things off this time a little tamer with Jake Beardsley, starting with Thoughtseize rather than the Evoked Grief.
Yep, absolutely not quite as powerful. Taking one of the Dryads to me would be screaming out that I'll be taking that other one next turn. Otherwise, you usually take non-redundant copies of cards.
Typically speaking, when you are casting a card like Thoughtseize or Inquisition of Kozilek, if you're a total Magic boomer, you tend not to take a card that they have multiple copies of. There are exceptions to this rule, of course, but that generally is the play pattern we see. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another Thoughtseize type effect in the near future. But as it is now, back to Dominic Harvey, whose Urza's Saga ticks up to 2 lore counters.
Okay, and we'll see what the follow-up is here.
A very tame Talaria West go.
And I don't believe that was revealed from the Thoughtseize, so I think we have perfect information from Jake's side. And here is the Evoke Grief and pitching.
Pitching a Feigned Death.
So, yep, has another one.
Got another one, no worries. So that's going to just absolutely shred the hand here of Dominic Harvey.
Okay. But after all this shredding, there is still one of the namesake cards here, prime time.
Let me check the clock here real quick, Corey. It looks like it is getting close to prime time.
Prime time, yeah.
I love this card.
Me too.
I love this card. Unban and in Commander, you cowards. Actually, probably don't do that. It's probably way too good for Commander.
That's fair.
All right. Amulet of Vigor, now the namesake card of this deck, a really important piece of this particular puzzle, of course, and we see Valakut untapped as a result of the Amulet.
And still needs some help. Next turn can get up to 4 mana with one of these bounce lands. 4 is indeed not 6. So still has to find something else, like maybe an Arboreal Grazer. Ooh, there's a 1 ring, though. That was an excellent draw.
Yeah, Crumbling Vestige is going to be able to provide the extra mana needed to cast the 1 ring, and this is the power of the 1 ring. Yes. Protection from everything, effectively gaining, 7 life here against Jake's Onslaught?
And probably more important than the life, protection from Thoughtseize or Griefs.
Right.
So the hand is safe. Normally, if you didn't have that protection clause, you wouldn't draw a card there because you don't want to give Jake the possibility of seeing 1 extra card. But when you have protection, just doesn't matter.
So very, very close to a Time Walk there. One of Magic's iconic cards from 10,000 years ago. This card is monumentally powerful, and it's only fitting that the 1 ring, a marquee mythic rare from the new set, The Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, is getting it done in Modern in its wake here.
Yeah, Time Walk these days also draws 3 cards.
Okie dokes. Harvey now with the Amulet of Vigor, Primeval Titan in hand, and Golgari Rot Farm hanging out there as well. Those Ravnica bounce lands, Karoo lands, they're sometimes called.
Okay.
Another really popular card in Commander, of course, helps you make sure that you hit those land drops, but with actual high-level constructed implications in a deck like Amulet Titan.
Absolutely.
1 ring goes up to 2. Draw 2 cards here.
Yep.
Oh, Flash into Bowmasters. That's not bad.
Yep, absolutely. So drawing 2 cards will go up to 3, take 3, and now the pressure is really on Dom because let's see, we got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage coming back, and then the ring will be +2, so that's 13.
So it's a bit of a now or never moment.
It's now or never.
Harvey.
And I do see Rot Farm, Azusa, and Titan, I think. So if that is the case, that should be enough. Not positive if I saw Azusa, but that is...
We know there's a Titan. We've seen the Titan, and I think we've seen Azusa as well, but we'll find out shortly enough here.
All right.
And you can see Harvey's got it all sorted out with his land drops and his floating mana.
Looks like the Rot Farm will be rotting back into Dominic's hand for now.
Can potentially play it again. So tapping it for mana in response to the bounce trigger after it's untapped with the Amulet.
Okay.
So here you go. Here you can see how much mana is floating. 1 green, 1 black, 1 colorless from the Vestige there, the Crumbling Vestige.
And there still should be a bounce
There is an Azusa.
land.
There is definitely an Azusa.
Okay,
Yep. So that's going to be huge. Azusa, of course, Lost But Seeking enables you to play a bunch of extra lands, 2 additional lands. I don't want to. I sound like a broken record, Corey, but another card that is really good in Commander.
Sure.
Maybe we're tempting Commander players into Modern, man.
Fair enough. So now we do see Azusa being put down. So the one thing that we've seen before is like, oh, you have Amulet, you have Primeval Titan, the game's over. That is not always the case when, 1, your opponent's at more than 16 life and has blockers. So this Primeval Titan will still have to attack, but it won't be able to attack for lethal. So Dom has to use one of the more creative ways, kind of where his 80-page guide would come into play, of how do you get Primeval Titan into play, and what is your best avenue to then stay alive?
So a Vesuva was played there. I believe it's copying that Golgari Rot Farm.
Okay.
And it looks like we're bouncing Talaria West with the trigger and then replaying it, of course, because, we never run out of land drops when we're playing Amulet Titan.
Yep.
A ton of mana in the pool here for Harvey. More than enough to cast Primeval Titan.
All the dice goes away. Here is prime time. And the one thing that you can start with and that you usually start with is Boros Garrison and Slayer Stronghold. If you draw some of these cards, that's kind of, the unfortunate scenarios where you have to then play them maybe out of turn that you would like to. But we see this. This usually gives the haste and vigilance to Primeval Titan. And then, since the game is not just straight over this turn, at least it doesn't look like, we're going to see exactly what Dom does. Now it's how can I protect myself against maybe a possible terminate, something along those lines.
Radiant Fountain is a way that this deck can gain life. That's in the sideboard, however.
Yep, Radiant Fountain, Colony Gardens, these used to be in the list. Now it's a little bit viewed as maybe a little bit too cute. You're just straightforward.
Too corner case.
Exactly.
Yeah. Especially with cards like the Mycosynth Gardens, which is just so excellent in conjunction with Amulet of Vigor.
Yeah, that did really take out a lot of those extra fun lands kind of thing.
And we see it here as well, put into play.
Okay.
Just a more generically powerful card, supplanting some of the cards that occupied a bit more of a corner case position in the Amulet Titan decks, relegated to the sideboard instead. So Beardsley counting up what he's up against here as this primetime crashes in.
Now we'll see if there's another follow-up. Let's say Summoner's Pact for another Dryad, play another land, use Valakut to then would be turned on thanks to Dryad and deal some damage.
Kill something.
Or if that's just enough. If this is all that Dom has, Dom can still very much lose next turn to... It would have to be 2 removal spells, but still possible.
On a Rakdos deck? Certainly.
Yeah, right.
Certainly. We're going to see some blocks, actually. All right.
Okay.
We're going to see some blocks, and I think that's telegraphing a feigned death or an undying malice of some kind.
Yeah, so if Dom had a plan for post-combat play something, this is going to really put a hindrance on that.
Yeah, because we're going to see... this is what's going to happen here. Now, because of the way that blockers have been ordered, right?
That's an Otawara.
Right, never mind. Okay, we don't have to talk about that. Otawara, the Soaring City, sends grief soaring back to the hand of Jake Beardsley. The Primeval Titan tramples over the Orc army in for a ton of damage, and critically, no grief trigger.
That was so huge. And honestly, with the Otawara alone, Dom was going to be able to survive. Had one more piece of interaction, but now Jake is not going to be able to do enough things.
No.
Unless you can kill Primeval Titan and maybe Dom just has absolutely nothing in hand, then maybe you could piece this together. But step 1 has to kill Titan or it's just over.
So let's have a look at the Mycosynth Garden, says Jake Beardsley. A new land came to us, obviously, with All Will Be One, and has had a significant impact on the Amulet Titan archetype.
Okay. So the grief takes that. Now some lines that Dom will have available. Yep, that looks like 3 damage. Dom can attack, go get Stronghold. Put that into play tapped.
Sunhome.
Exactly.
Sunhome Fortress of the Legion, the card, of course, that gives double strike, trample, potent combination.
Exactly.
And you 6/6 attacking.
And you can pump again with the Slayer Stronghold. So this should be it.
Dominic Harvey has managed to pull together what looks like another dub here from a position where I would have thought you're just dead, but I'm not. I'm not Dominic Harvey. I'm not the one who literally wrote the book on this deck.
There you go.
So Vesuva once again.
And that looked like it was copying Simic Growth Chamber, which this is shortcutting to add 4 mana, essentially. When you have 2 amulets, it's 4, 1, 2, similar regards for that. But now also when this Primeval Titan attacks, you can get Sunhome, activate on Primeval Titan, untap, activate on something else. But it looks like it's just prime time number 2 here.
Yep. We're going to see a huge amount of mana generated with the Vesuva copying, cosplaying as the Simic Growth Chamber. And we can transmute the Talaria West to find Summoner's Pact, which is another 0-drop. And then Summoner's Pact can go and find a Primeval Titan. Using Primeval Titan, you can, of course... using the Slayer Stronghold, you can give this Primeval Titan haste after it comes into play. And then you can go and search out for 4 more lands, all of which will enter the battlefield, will be untapped after they enter the battlefield. And I think we're getting close to A game win here for Dominic Harvey. If he can't win from this position, Corey, 2 prime times, a ton of land, all the options in the world.
The only thing I could think that maybe makes it slightly, question mark.
Are we getting another one? Oh, no, it's another. Okay, we're just seeing a...
Yeah. Pew, pew.
Have a look at that.
very,
Yep,
very
another
short.
another
I figured
summoner's
that was
pact to
that
go
was
and
a
get
clean
a
one.
Dryad of the Elysian
Concept.
Grove. And even if the Prime Times didn't get across, even if the Primeval Titans didn't connect, now all of our lands are mountains. You go and get 4 more lands with the Valakut or extra Valakuts.
Yeah.
You're dead 6 ways from sun.
Exactly. And one of the other lands you're going to get, another Valakut, so you get double triggers there, too.
Exactly.
And spoiler, they were going to connect.
And we're going to get through as well. So Dominic Harvey, a dominant performance for him in game number 2. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Modern from Barcelona after this. Welcome back to the summertime sunshine of Barcelona, Spain. Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings, taking place in a beautiful city, in a beautiful country, and we couldn't be happier to be here with your company. Around the world, wherever you're joining us from, welcome. By all means, welcome. It's so good to have your company. Ryan and I joined by Corey Baumeister. And Corey, we're well and truly underway with our second and last semi-final in our top 8 here in this modern tournament. We have seen all sorts of wild action across 3 days of competition, but we are getting ever closer to crowning a champion. Jake Beardsley, Dominic Harvey, the winner of this match, will face off against Christian Calcano in the final. But who's it going to be?
Well, I know who Christian Calcano is rooting for, and that would be Jake, because we kind of saw how bad of a matchup Tron versus Amulet is. So Calcano definitely has a newfound fan in Jake, even though I know Dom and the Calculator are good buds.
Well, let's have a chat about what these two players have done post-board. So an unusual aspect of the best-of-5 finals that we see here is that we sideboard after Game 2, not after Game 1.
Correct.
I'll quickly run through what we're seeing here. After Game 2, Jake has taken out 4 copies of Orcish Bowmasters and 2 copies of Fable of the Mirror Breaker and replaced them with 2 copies of Chalice of the Void, 1 copy of Pithing Needle, 1 Terminate, and 2 Blood Moon, which is going to be a massive card if it ever comes out. On the other side of things, Dominic has taken out 1 Azusa, 1 Mycosynth Gardens, 4 copies of Urza's Saga, Sunhome, and Cultivator Colossus also hitting the bench, I should say. And coming in instead, 1 Worm Coil Engine, 1 Generous Ent, 2 Terra Sunder, 3 Dismember, and a Radiant Fountain. Quite a dramatic shift for Dominic Harvey.
Yeah, it is a dramatic shift, and most of the time you look and you're like, wow, you're taking out lands? Like, you shouldn't be taking out lands in your deck, but with Amulet, there's a lot of utility lands. Some lands come in to mitigate that, as well as you just play extra lands in general. Those Urza Sagas, of course, coming out because of the interaction with Blood Moon.
Yeah, Blood Moon means that Urza Saga just immediately goes to the bin.
Yeah.
And so it's just too much of a liability to keep them in your deck in a post-Blood Moon environment. And what are we seeing here, Corey, as Douthie Voidwalker gets in for a spot of lunch with Ragavan being dashed as well?
Yeah, we see the One Ring with a Dauthi counter on there. So there was a Thoughtseize taking that. So at any point, Dauthi Voidwalker can cast the One Ring.
Could be cashed in here for
Yep.
the One Ring. Oh, here's a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This was sideboarded out, at least in some numbers. Two of them hitting the bench, but must have obviously... Oh, no, the full four in the list, so only two taken out.
Absolutely. And here is the One Ring protecting against some damage, as well as Hand Disruption. Draws a card here.
Blood Moon for Jake Beardsley. And this could spell real trouble here for Dominic Harvey.
Yeah, that is really bad news bears here for Dominic, as some of the answers that are really popular ways to deal with Blood Moon, Force of Vigor, are kind of in some of the other lists. And I would say stock, but I feel like Dom is the one who stocks this list.
Whatever Dominic Harvey's playing, that's the stock amulet.
Exactly, but there are no Force of Vigors here. You do need green mana to be able to destroy that. So there are plenty of games where Dom just never finds a green source and just cannot do a single thing. Not only that, but it really shuts down all bounce lands, turning from adding 2 to just 1.
So 3 forests in this list here for Dominic Harvey, but right now all he's got to work with instead are basically just mountains, thanks to all of those non-basics that he's playing. The One Ring, copy number 2 comes down. He's going to draw an extra card off of that. That's another turn of protection, but Harvey swimming against the tide, I think it's fair to say.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's 2 One Rings in exile there.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
So, sorry. One just got Legend, I was going to say.
Yep.
So there is still 1 copy left in the deck for Dom as another Time Walk effect. Otherwise, if you don't find it exactly right now, that's it.
Yeah, the thing is, Time Walk is only really good if you're actually doing something with it, right? And Dom at the moment is flailing, trying to find a way to contest this huge board that Jake very, very quickly assembled. Threats plus disruption. That's how you beat these decks.
Yep.
And that's what we've seen. Disruption in the form of Blood Moon and discard spells, and threats in the form of Ragavan, Douthie Voidwalker, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Jake Beardsley, match point. 1 more win, and he will be taking part in our final here at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings in Barcelona. This could be it, Corey.
This could be it, and Dom really needed to kind of pick up those first 2 games in this, pre-boarded world, because, well, there's only 1 main deck Blood Moon from Jake, so if you get Blood Moon in those games, you feel kind of unlucky, but going up to 3 of them in total, now it's not exactly luck, it's closer to a certainty at the later stages of the game.
Game goes long enough, and your opponent is bound to hit one of those 3 Blood Moons here. Dominic will be hoping that they don't come to the fore too early. Here's the Thoughtseize now. Cycling away the Generous Ent in order to search up a forest.
Probably a basic forest
And
here
there
after
it
last
is.
game.
Oh, yes. We can see the basic forest there. That looks to me like an original Zendikar full art land.
Okay.
Love to see that.
An interesting choice. I like
Are
it.
you kidding me? That's a great choice.
I mean, at least it could have been foil. Every other card in Dominic's deck is absolutely shiny and beautiful, but,
Except for the Ottawa and the Terra Sunda that are
Yeah,
currently in
yeah.
hand. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And the
All right.
Generous Ent that he just cycled away.
All right now. What's going on in this game, Mr. Riley?
Well, look, the Rakdos Evoke deck wants to do exactly this, right? Wants to disrupt and apply pressure, and we've seen the disruption, so now it's up to Jake to apply some pressure. What do we see on turn 2? Dash Ragavan, maybe a Douthie Voidwalker. I can see a Fable of the Mirror Breaker in hand, but what is there on our second turn?
I think I also saw Ragavan and Thoughtseize, so there were so many options here. Jake ran the numbers and put out the Voidwalker immediately.
And it's a Sousa, Lost But Seeking, after Douthie Voidwalker comes into play, and a Simic Growth Chamber, picking up Radiant Fountain, which is immediately then played again, gaining a total of 4 life this game, up to 24.
And I believe we had 2 prime times in hand.
Is that right?
From the initial Thoughtseize. I could be wrong on that. I know I see 1. There's that Terror.
Terra Sunda, correct? Yep.
Terra Sunder there. So Terra Sunder will protect against a possible Blood Moon here. You can use that Forest plus Radiant Fountain, which would be a mountain, to terrace under the Blood Moon to then use the rest of your mana. But still no Amulet, so we're not seeing any wins. So something you might see in this game that you don't always see with the Amulet Titan is, just Titan. But when you get just Titan, you can still ramp with it. It plays a little bit more of a fair game, but you just set up for the next turn.
Primeval Titan, just casting it by itself. Just Raw Dog and a Titan. Ooh, still feels great.
All right, absolutely.
Still feels fantastic just running one out there. But it's not going to happen here as Thoughtseize takes away this copy of Primeval Titan.
So now, I mean, Jake can cast Primeval Titan too.
Very true. Yeah. Now that it's got that Void counter on it, if we want to upgrade our 3/6 Shadow into a Primeval Titan...
Really wants to steal the time slot here of getting prime time a little early.
Oh, and it's not just happening with the Voidwalker being cashed in. We see a feigned death mean that the Voidwalker comes back again. 2 lands here for Jake Beardsley off of this Primeval Titan. He goes and gets some fast lands because obviously they come into play tap no matter what. These Blackcleave Cliffs. So really, really huge power spike for him now with this Primeval Titan and a Ragavan to follow it up. So Jake Beardsley in the driver's seat, edging ever closer, Corey, to that finals slot.
Okay, so, Dom needed the land and did not hit it. Now Jake is the one that not only has the first Primeval Titan, a Thoughtseize was picked up to take this one from Dom, Jake gets to attack with Prime Time. I think this is looking really, really bad.
Disaster scenario here for Dominic Harvey. How the tide has turned against him. His own Primeval Titan brought to bear against him.
And he's gonna cast a second Primeval Titan, Riley.
You're joking, of course, because
with another Feigned Death.
Because the Douthie Voidwalker is still there. And is there another Feigned Death in hand?
There's another Feigned Death or Undying Malice in hand. So there's going to be at the end step on Jake's side 2 Primeval Titans, Ragavan, Douthie Voidwalker with a counter on it, and it's going to be like, okay, your turn.
Jake Beardsley
what can you
has
do?
come to this tournament being like, all right, I'm going to play Rakdos Evoke. And then he's looked at what his opponents are playing. He's like, oh, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
I want to play your deck instead.
Yeah.
We have seen this time and time again with Rakdos Evoke. Another Primeval Titan for the Rakdos deck.
Wow.
2 more lands. Blood Crypt is going to be joined by probably another duel here. No, it's just a swamp. He might be out of duels, to be honest, at this stage. Holy moly.
Probably better to get a swamp with Blood Moon in your deck anyways, but yeah. I don't think anything matters anymore.
No. Primeval Titan joined by Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Dominic Harvey, the final moments for him in this tournament, I think it's fair to say, as he is going to get his teeth kicked in by these 6/6 tramplers, in addition, of course, to the massive Douthie Voidwalker, the Ragavan, the Goblin from... Oh, no, we've got a Primeval Titan on the other side of the battlefield.
Okay.
Harvey at least making his presence felt.
And I mean, we are going to be saying some of the cards like the One Ring, Orcish Bowmasters, cards of the tournament. You got to be putting in the conversation Douthie Voidwalker, especially you and I, what we've been seeing in the booth thanks to this card.
Wild moments with this card. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. Unreal how awesome and impactful this 2-drop is.
So Harvey now considering which 2 lands he wants to get. Now, no Amulet means that he's not going to be able to do any untapped shenanigans with any of the cards that he gets. But let's see what they are. He thinks very carefully. If there is a line here, Dominic Harvey is the man for the job. He will find the line.
Absolutely. So thinking about it, you can get some bounce lands here, and if you get bounce lands, you can then replay Radiant Fountain to gain some life. So, on surface value, at least you can gain 2 more life, so Dom can be at an effective 18. You could get Vesuva if you really wanted as well to get yourself at an effective 20, and you might need that life buffer just in case. But Dom also has to figure out, how can I close out the game? Which I'm going to let Dom figure this out, because this seems like an impossible task right now, but definitely, I would say more improbable, not necessarily impossible.
He has to find a way not just lose this game, but also somehow to win it.
Exactly.
And that is a massive uphill battle for him. But it starts with this Primeval Titan and its trigger as it comes into play, searching out 2 lands. You mentioned Vesuva. We see it on the screen. It's a weird card, kind of like a clone effect for lands.
Little copycat.
And there is that Radiant Fountain hanging out underneath the Ottawara for it to copy if Harvey believes that the 2-life is going to be relevant. But no, we're going to see Talaria West here joined by Golgari Rot Farm. And it's going to pick up the Radiant Fountain, which can be replayed thanks to the Azusa's extra land drop here.
Yep, absolutely. Gain a little bit of life, and it looks like, that's about it. And one card we still know it is that Terrace Under, which...
Is that the only card left in his hand?
It sure is, Riley.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I don't see any way out. Of course, we are not going to call it exactly yet, but now not only that, Jake gets 2 draw steps.
Oh, and it's a Terminate as well.
Oh, my God.
Didn't even need the Saga here. It's a Terminate off the top, and that is going to be enough for Jake Beardsley to find his way into the finals of Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings. Rakdos Evoke running the tables here against Amulet Titan. Dominic Harvey not finding a way against the unassailable onslaught of all of that disruption, the discard, and the potent threats. And you can see Jake overwhelmed with joy having made it so far. Look at him go.
Unreal. Unreal. From Roanoke, Virginia, taking it down here. Gonna go play against Christian Calcano in the finals in a pretty close matchup. This one is a lot closer than, let's say, the Amulet versus Tron, so we are going to have quite a finals on our hand.
We are indeed, and Corey, I know you've had a blast this weekend. That's it for us in the booth here, so, mate, thank you for your guidance, your excellence, and of all of your expertise across the 3 days of competition. It's been marvelous working with you as ever.
A lot of fun with you too, buddy.
Thank you so much, my dude. But right now, we are going to chuck it over to Will Hall, who is standing by with our winner, Jake Beardsley.
Jake Beardsley, you just beat Amulet Titan at their own game with their own cards. When you ripped that Terminate off the top to know that you had the lethal win, how did it feel?
It felt great. I had been running the math to see what cards can I draw that are lethal, what cards are going to get dicey, because at that point, he has the ability, if he can survive without losing the Titan, to start picking up his own Otawara and bouncing his own Titans back to his hand, and things would fall apart pretty quickly there, so it felt relieving, honestly, that it was just like, it was done, and I didn't have to worry about trying to navigate the rest of that game when it got much, much harder.
Okay, the big question. You're 1 game away from being our Pro Tour champion, from lifting that trophy, and it's your first Pro Tour. How does that feel? What emotions are you going through right now?
I'm just trying to focus on the match in front of me. It's really hard to put everything into words, and I'm sort of just trying to just shove it all down and focus on winning a matchup against either really tough opponent. I don't know who I'm playing, but I know that either of the options are going to be really, really tough to get through.
Smart choice. Thank you very much, Jake.
Well, my friends, we do hope you stick around, of course, for the final of Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings. What a pleasure it's been for me and Corey to bring you all the action across the weekend. But for now, we are going to chuck it back over to the news desk for Maria and Marnie with a preview of the final.